Thanks to ThatRockPlayer for this request. Again, this is one of the big Ween songs. Definitely the biggest, I'd say, off the country album for its legacy. it's it's very questionable legacy depending on who you ask, but you know, great song and all that. Again, the guitar player on here, Pete Wade, he's really does some outstanding work on here. I thought, especially when we get to the solo, I thought it was so much more simple than it was. But especially with the effect going on, there's a lot to sort of dissect there, and there's lots of little fills here and there. And I'm going to cover the more what I've deemed the more important or more sort of iconic ones, because they don't really play any of them when they do this live. When they play this live, it's very simplified, relatively, definitely in terms of the guitar playing anyway. It's basically just chords, and depending on the performance, I guess, the solo from Diener, although I think it usually just goes to Claude, but that's just from memory. I haven't checked, sort of. So anyway, all right, just chords. So we're in G, and it's just G, D, G, verse, G, C. These are all open. G, D, back to G, C, G, D, stay on it, then G, and then, so that's just you know, E string, open A, 2A, and then C, G, D, and then that's back into the verse, and then the song ends on a, you know, just those 3 hits on the G, whatever you want to do, downstrokes or whatever. That's basically just the chords, right? Now on the album, there's there's rhythm is a lot more sort of, on the guitar specifically. There's a lot more. It's not really that complicated. He's just sort of muting a lot. Could be open or bar chord. When emulating the album, I tend to go more for the bar chords for some reason. Maybe it's a bit easier to get in position to play the fills, but whatever. So it's a bit more like that. Have a bit more bounce to it. And I do that when going up to the D chord. I tend to play this, slide that power chord up again with the bar on your finger there. Right, that's just super basic rhythm. And when it comes to live stuff, that's basically what Diener does. He's just doing the rhythm job. And I'm gonna go into the on the album, a lot of the licks that go on, but not all of them. I'm gonna emulate a little bit of the pedal steel, just because, again, it's kind of iconic. So I think it's beneficial. So let's do what the song starts off with. A lot of these licks are pretty darn simple. So that's just, so hammer on, then 2 hits there, then hook there, a little half step bend there, then go back down, then slide up. I swear he does a little, bends that up a tiny bit before he slides it back down, but right, so you can also just go, you can do it without the bend, but I'd say do it. You want to make it very slight. It's tough to make it slight enough to make it sound like it. So, a little bend on there. Just goes like that. So, right? And then there's another one. So that's just slide up there on the E string, 1 to 3. Then pick 1 to 3 on the A. Then, right? Hook there, and then back there. Then, when he does this kind of thing, he kind of climbs up. Matter of fact, I don't know, I haven't mentioned this yet. I'm pretty sure, this is just my opinion, I could be totally wrong on this. I think the guitar might be tuned down like a whole step or something. Or even maybe even drop D on the album. Because I hear some low, like a low D note when they go to the D chord. And it sounds like there's some really low, sort of heavy palm muting. Not heavy like distorted metal stuff, but just, you know. Like when he goes there, I hear some lower notes in there. I didn't tune down or anything because one, I don't even know if they did that, but also two, you don't need to tune down to play this song, right? You know, you can't get the low D in there. It's not the end of the world. But anyway, so that lick that he throws in there, so it starts there, which is kind of fun, right? So. So that's and then this next one is just whole step bend on there on the A string 5 and bring it back down. Then he kind of picks that. Then I probably should have done I think it's more of he does sort of a little bend, like a half step bend on that E string there. Then goes back down to that note. I did more of the same kind of thing on my demo, but whatever, you know. And then he does kind of I definitely hear that note. He could also be going to that note. So start off with that. And then he slides up on the G string. 7. Hits that on the B string. Then slides back down. Hook there. Just right, so right. And then this is where I try to emulate the pedal steel. So that's just hybrid. I'm just hybrid picking it, but it's the 6th interval. You go up on the 7th here, D string, B string, 7th of both. Then go down, slide down, then pick again on the 5th. Then slide up here. I do the 3rd here, 3rd fret of G and 3rd interval. 3rd fret of G, 2nd of B. Slide that up 1 fret. So. Right, and then I kind of, again, just emulating the pedal steel as much as I can. So that's just sliding up on the way up on the 12th of the G, then hitting 12 on the G and B, then sliding them both down, then G, then B string on the fret down from there, then the 9 and 10. Hit those together, So, and then B, then G, then slide up again, the same one. Then so that's just a. I really wanted to include that lick because I think it just, you know, it's kind of iconic. But so slide up there on the G to the 7 on the G. Then you hit the same fret on the B. Then you slide them both down. Then hit the G, then B on the 5th. Then, you know, 4th and 3rd. Then hit it again. Then slide it up here and hit, so you move your finger so that you get them both on the 7th fret there. And then I do this triad here. That's 9, 10, 7, 8. 9, 10, 8 on the top 3 strings. And then I do this little bar here on the 12th fret of the D, G, and B. And then mute the high E so you don't really hit it. Right, so I thought it sounded all right. But yeah. So there's some other harmonica. I think it's harmonica or something. I assume it's got to be harmonica. I didn't really try and emulate those. You can. It's just sort of, you know. There's some cool like stuff there, but it's, you know, just kind of bluesy bends. And yeah, and there's one more lick at the very end, which again I thought, you know, I always think of it whenever I listen to the album version, so I figured I'd try and teach it. So that's just a. So this is I can't go. That's basically what it is. So that's a pre-bend there on the G string 5th fret. And go back down. Then push it back up and mute it. Then, right, so. And then you just, you hit the G chord. You just hit that dyad, those 2 notes, and it'll work. And maybe on the album he's just hitting the 1 note. But of course you want to end it with the band. You play the whole G chord, so you can just go, or whatever, any other variation of that. Alright, so then there's the solo. And the solo, it's got a weird effect on it. For the longest time I thought it was Diener, but no, he's not credited. So I have to assume it's not him. And there's some really clever sort of musicality going on in the solo, even though it sounds very Diener-ish and very... it's got that weird, wacky effect on it. I think it's one of those... what are they called? The whammy pedals, where they go up an octave and they sound all crazy. Those are cool and all that, but the way I sort of emulate that sound would be to just take a wah pedal, because I don't have a whammy. If I did, I'd use it. I would take a wah pedal and just put it all the way down to sort of get that trebly high sound. Because I don't really... yeah. Also, for the clean thing, I used a tiny bit of tremolo, because I think he might be using that on the album. Just sounds like it to me. Again, these are things that you just, if you want to get as close to the album as possible, that's what I'm saying. Of course, live, you just, you know, do what Diener does. You just have your tone. And you just control the volume knob, and then you have a handful of pedals, but whatever. So that's pre-bend up there, let down, that 5th and then 3rd frets of the low E. And then I feel like he might hit like an open string in there, and that's when he kind of turns on the whammy effect. And the whammy is probably an octave up, And for that reason, I'm going to try and teach this. When you hear it, it's like way up, right? So you're probably hearing this. And I'll teach that as well, I'll try to. But I like to play it an octave down because I think that might be how he played it, but I'm not sure. So that's the first lick. So we're up here on 10 of A. Then slide up on the D, 10, 12. Then play those two notes on the G. Add some vibrato on there. Then 9 of the G. That note. Slide up there. Then hit that 12 on the G. Then this is on the B string. So pull off, then pick that 12 of the G, and hit that and slide down. Then so that's, so bend that up on the B, then mute it, and add a little hook there, then climb down, a little hook there if you want, then 12D, come back there, then I hear that hit the B, then the G, sort of those two alternate between those. Then he goes he hits that 10 of G and D. Then he just hits the D string there. Then he hits that a few times. Alright, so bend up there, full step on the G12. Then hit that note on the B. And ends there. And then right, so, and for licks like this, you really want to dig in with the pick, get like as much sort of pinchy, pinch the string as much as you can to really get those overtones. And even some harmonics in there. So that's, hit that 12 and slide down, then I just kind of hit a random note on the G that's lower than that and slide down. And then those other bends were full step. This one's going to be half step. Right, so then I hear a little slide down there. So this is kind of cool. So pull off. Little hook there. Then, so that's after you hit you go for the 14 of the G. Then he does this. So now we're up this like G minor pentatonic box. Right? So full step bend there. Up there on the 17 G. Then hit the 15 B. Same on the high E. Pull that up. Bend that up, should say. Then hit it back down. No, hit it back down, but let it back down. Then, sorry, hit that on the G after you pull that off. Then, so that's 15 B, 17, and then 15 on G. So that's pick, then pick, and then pull off to the last one. Then pull that, bend that up, then sort of mute it when you get to it, to the top. Right, so you go climb down here on the D string, work your way to this note on the A. Right, so then you have that hook on there on the G string when you bend that up. Then hit that note, so that's 14 D, and then I hear him go. So he hits that G note on the 10A, and then he hits the octave up on the 12G. So after he slides down there on that note on the D string, you hit that note on the A string, and then the octave. So I think it's a pretty cool solo. And the octave up, basically the other way of playing that would basically be where you do the octave up of everything except for you do that the same octave, but you do everything else an octave up. So that opening lick, that'd be, you know, you can hear that it sounds more like the album, but you run into a problem where if you keep playing it like that, you know, see how I had to go back down there? You have to go back down an octave where he goes up an octave on the album. So I think it kind of deflates some of the intensity of it if you go down an octave. But again, if you're pinching, you can make it work. And if you got a full treble wah on, you can really dig into the strings. But anyway, so I'll just go over that. So that's, you already know the pattern of it, so I'm just going to show the notes of it, right? Then on the B string, then you bend up here, and then you can kind of then be way up here up on the high E string. And then, so then for that, I would just, you know, slide down one fret instead of trying to. You could do that, but I think it's a bit easier just to slide slide down that one fret and then slide further down. And then you do the same thing for the ending. And so that's pretty much all I got. It's a really cool song, and there's lots of cool stuff going on in it. But again, when they do it live, it's a lot more simple, at least from the rhythm guitar perspective, right? So, yeah, really cool song. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have fun learning it.